Well, welcome to Wells World of Whiskey, and we're going to do things a little different today. We're going to do our review, but we're going to pour early and let the dram sit for a while. I've been meaning to do that for some time. I think it's better for reviewing any new bottle, and this is a new bottle. And what is it? From the town of Pulteney town, part of Wick, at one time the most northerly distillery in mainland Scotland, and unfortunately that was taken away from it in the last few years by Wolfburn, which is about just a little less than 20 miles northwest of Wick, just on the outskirts of Thurso. Right on the north coast. So, but for many years, this was a very isolated community. The only way in and out was by boat for supplies, etc., etc. And what was Wick doing there? Well, it had been there for, hundreds of years. In fact, it was settled by the Norse, and there's a lot of history to it. But in the 18th, 19th century, the herring trade was booming there. And they built, in the early part of the 19th century, they built a huge dock. They had over 650 coopers working, for the barrels, for salting the herring. And they also had a distillery, and it was James Henderson. He decided that, we've got a growing population, we've got a herring boom going on, and these guys are thirsty, so he had been illegally distilling prior to that. So he just moved his goodies to and actually legally licensed the distillery. So, anyways, Old Pulteney, and there's a lot of unusual stuff about the stills on this distillery. You'll get a chance to see it when I review the history. But anyways, we are going to open this bottle, and I like to show you both the box and the bottle. There's the bottle, and evidently shaped like the stills. There it is, and I am going to say naturally colored, and I will have to check to see if it is chill filtered. I will read on that. We'll find out about it. But anyways, we're going to show you the box.
You take the plastic lid off. Now, the plastic is solid. There's no question about it. It's good plastic solid top. But why the heck they didn't do that to the bottom, I don't know. Because if you look at the bottom, and I'm just going to show you here, it's that easy. And to give you an idea, when you're putting this thing back together, it's kind of hilarious, because basically, pardon me, I think it fits like this. So there, now it's back together. Let's do that one more time. So we're basically... So, just something to mention that, they could certainly do a better job. They do such a good job on the top. Why couldn't they put a little plastic on the bottom and forget about the top? It's the bottom where the bottle falls out. I'm pushing this, I don't even see it there. I can, look at that. So, basically, again, it's a very beautiful looking box, by the way. I really like the looks of the box, but God, they could do a better job than that. Anyways, enough said.
And we are going to pour a dram. And of course, the idea here is to let it sit for a while. And I have a short piece of video on the distillery itself, a bit of the history. So, anyways, there we are. Maybe we'll take a little peek at the color there. So we're gonna let this sit for a few minutes in that. 10, 15 minutes. 15-year-old fresh bottle. I like the idea. A minute per year. At least give it 10 minutes, and let it breathe for 10. But I think I'm going to go 15. So, anyways, we'll see you in 15 minutes.
In R.J.S. McDowell's The Whiskies of Scotland, he describes the town of Wick in Old Pulteney whiskey. It is to me quite surprising that such a good whiskey could be made in this grim, windswept fishing town on the North Sea. James Henderson had previously run an illegal distillery at Stempster, but saw the need for a distillery with the growing herring fishery in Wick, so he built and licensed Pulteney Distillery in 1826 in Pulteney Town. The Henderson family sold the distillery to James Watson, and 2 years later it was owned by Dewars and Sons, but then the people of Wick voted to be a dry town. That lasted for over 25 years. The distillery went through numerous ownerships, including Hiram Walker, who rebuilt it in 1959, and then sold it to Allied in 1961. Allied Domac sold it to Inverhouse, now part of International Beverage. The herring fishery may be long gone, but Old Pulteney is still alive and operating today. The malt grist from the 90-year-old Porteous mill is fed into a 5-ton stainless steel semi-loader mash tun with a copper dome. There are several mashes per day, and that feeds into 6 23,000-liter washbacks with a fermentation time of about 60 hours. The flat-top 16,000-liter wash still called the Smugglers Kettle has a massive bulbous reflux bowl which produces a 30 to 35% low wine. This is fed into the 13,200-liter spirit still, which produces a new make spirit of 68.8%, which is then cooled in the stainless steel worm tubs. The whiskey's lighter character contradicts the wash still's massive reflux bowl and has a uniqueness of flavor unlike any other distillery in Scotland. Most of the casks used for Old Pulteney are ex-bourbon barrels and some ex-sherry butts. They have started to expand their stock of sherry casks for future bottlings. Another seasoned veteran and well-known in the whiskey industry is Malcolm Waring, the Old Pulteney distillery manager. At one time, Old Pulteney was only accessible by sea and the most northerly distillery on the mainland, but in 2013, Wolfburn now holds that title, which is 19 miles to the northwest near Thurso.
Okay, we're back at it. It is the 15-year-old Old Pulteney that we're reviewing, and I did find out that it is non-chill filtered and there is no coloring added, and it is cured in bourbon, ex-bourbon. It is also finished in Oloroso. So they have been working on their Oloroso casks, building up their casks. They've been primarily American bourbon cask whiskey for many years, and they had a few of the Spanish oak sherry casks in that, but they are now trying to increase their, especially with their future bottlings, increase their sherry casks and sherry butts and that. So anyways, let's give this the nose. I'm getting a little bit of a maritime note there, a little salinity, salt and caramel, and a bit of floral notes here. Ooh, a bit of spicy stuff going on here. Cinnamon. It's got a good nose on it. It's a stronger nose. I'm expecting it to be maybe a little bit of body to it here. We're getting, I'm going to say it is some stewed fruit. Apples, pears, And yeah, even a little bit of a custard smell there. Even something savory there. Now this is cooled in the worm tubs, and I almost identify with worm tubs. It always has a bit of the savory notes, but you saw the history, and also when I gave you the information on the stills. I mean, they have some of the most unusual stills in Scotland, especially the wash still. It is basically one big bulbous reflux bowl, and it's squared off at the top. You know, it's got a long lin arm and that, but you'd expect a real heavy body. You know, lots of character to this with that type of wash still, but let's give it the palate. So much. Interesting. It definitely has its own character, Old Pulteney. Well, there's the sweetness, the caramel, vanilla, fruity. Definitely, it's not sulfur notes, but there's something there. When I said the savory, I'm going to have to indulge again here, because there's something there, and I'd like to catch it what it is there. Now, I've read other reviews, but this is different. This is something different. It's going to come to me sooner or later, but the familiar stuff, you know, your fruits, your dark fruits and all that, but the spices are quite a bit stronger than other, like the 12 presentation that I'd had, you know, not more than probably a year ago. This is definitely a lot spicier. It's got and hotter spices, you know. So I'd say the ginger, but it's got a slight bit of that Mortlach character to it. And to identify, like I mentioned, the maritime notes, the saltiness, but it's almost like a, you know, a mustardy taste to it. But it will come to me. I'll work on it. I like it. It's quite unique. You know, like a Mortlach, you know, unique. Kleinleash, unique. They have their own character. Even Craig Gallacky and interesting Loch Lomond. And there's something about it. They just, you know, it's if it's not the sulfur notes, it's something close to it that I like. It's not off-putting, but it's going to need a little bit more work so I can identify it. But it is different than the 12 in that it is a lot spicier. But anyways, let's go for the finish. So it is quite viscous, oily, and I think that was what we identified with the Mortlach. Doesn't quite coat like a Mortlach or a Kleinleash. You're not getting that heavy coating. It is lighter. But there are some layers, and I haven't completely identified them, I'll be honest with you. More familiarity with Old Pulteney. Like I say, the only other Old Pulteney I've had is the 12. I have not had the Hadard. I believe that was named after a street in Pulteneyville, or Pulteney Town. I think that when you get to know a Scotch, you've sampled the different bottlings, you start to get better at identifying with the different layers and that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm learning here. I'm learning Old Pulteney, and I kind of like it. It's not heavy body, but it's got enough to it that it's got a signature, a character to it. And there's one thing that I'm still working on to identify. I can identify with the fruits, the dark fruits, the raisins, the caramel, the familiar stuff that you would be familiar with. But there's something deeper in here, and besides the ginger and the baking spices. I mean, there is some malt going on. I know they use optic malt, but granola. There's some granola stuff going on, and it could be maybe if you could spice up the granola a bit. Maybe I'm trying to identify a spice that is somewhere deep in here that just gives it just seems to give it something extra. I mean, the salinity is there. There's no question about the proximity with the ocean. You can taste it in the drink, but this is a non-peated whiskey, so that's what makes it quite unique. I think we better add water. So water, we're going to give it I think she can take the normal amount here. We'll put a few drops in there, and that was more than a few. That was probably four drops at least. 4 drops. See what we can discover here. Now, I don't write notes down or try to copy other people's reviews. That's why every once in a while I might get stuck when I'm trying to identify a specific thing, and that's when I'm searching for it. What was it that I kind of found it for brief moments of time there, and it seemed to be, it would hide and then it would come back out, and let's see if we can find it. Well, we've got the floral stuff going on again, heathery, and the salt, the maritime notes, and there is some richness to it. And you've got the apples, the pears, and mixed in with the stewed fruit. So you got dark and you got the white fruits and the dark fruits. And I'm going to say you got some strawberries. So you've got a mix. You got 3 different types of fruit going on here. And that was with the water there. It really opened it up. That mustardy stuff, it's there. Anise and a bit of mustard. Anyways, with water. Spices. Now a little bit of chocolate, creamy chocolate, not super dark chocolate, creamy chocolate. Espresso maybe, latte, more latte than espresso. And I'm going to stay with the mustard and the anise there, because it's the closest thing I can get to that. It's not dominating, and that's the problem. It's kind of hidden in the background, but it's what I'm picking out of it, and it's making it really interesting. I'm having some fun here. I'm certainly not suffering through this, that's for sure. There is some sherry notes there, but I think the bourbon cask influence is much stronger, and I think the worm tubs have a lot to do with that unusual taste I'm getting, because every time I am reviewing something that has worm tubs, some distillery that has worm tubs produces something that I like. Worm tubs, I know that I like what they produce, and there's some similarities, but they all are unique. Mortlach, very unique. Craigellachie, unique. I think that what you find with worm tubs is it's a traditional way of cooling. They're obviously a lot of maintenance on worm tubs. That's why they've discontinued them in a lot of distilleries. But I think it offers a lot more to the distillate, to the character of the distillate. That's my own opinion. And it's just from what I've experienced with it. So, and some, like I think it was Dalwhinnie, I believe they went back to worm tubs after getting rid of their worm tubs because they couldn't produce that product that they had that was successful. And I believe that was Diageo, for gosh sakes, that did that. So that says something. This is a really good dram. It deserves a decent score. There's nothing off-putting about this, but it has some unique character to it. But anyways, I'm going to give this an 86. And I'm going to say that it's an honest 86. I recommend this. I think it's well worth the investment. I'm glad I bought the bottle. And so I'm going to leave you with, yes, it's a good whiskey to explore. Old Pulteney 15. So, I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, do not drink and drive. Until the next time, so long.